I have been waiting for a time to answer this question where I wasn't expecting any phone calls or my kids wouldn't be home or anything like that, and that time is not going to come. So hopefully we won't be interrupted and I can get to these questions. There's some great questions here. So let's go through each one at a time. The first question, I was wondering if the way you get the background to blur out is with your f-stops, or if I still use my camera on auto mode, is there a way to get a similar look with editing? First of all, I get the background blur almost exclusively with a low f-stop. I do it in camera, I do not do it in editing. Hardly ever. So I would suggest that you get your camera out of auto mode, and if you like that background blur, learn to use those low f-stops. You will be so much more happy than doing it in Photoshop because it looks a lot more natural and a lot better. I probably maybe once every few months might do something to a photo in editing, like this one right here. I put this haze and blur in the top and the bottom in post-processing, but the rest of these photos, the background blur is just with a low f-stop. I don't really like the look of blur done in editing. That said, I will show you how to do it in case you want to. So let's see. Let me pull up a picture that we can put some blur in. I'll just grab one. These already have blur. Let's see if I can get one that... Okay. This might not be a great example, but I can show you the process and the idea. So let's say I decided I wanted this to be blurred behind. I'd make a copy of this, a background copy, and then the easiest to use is the Gaussian blur, so I'm just going to use that one. And you're going to kind of play with it until it's similar to how you want the background blur to look. Maybe a little bit more, because you can always change the opacity, and say OK. And then I'm going to make a layer mask and do Control or Command I to invert the layer mask, which hides it, and that means that we can paint the layer mask on instead of painting it off. So I'm going to get a brush and make sure my brush is white. I just click X to switch from black to white. So my brush is white, and then I'm going to put my opacity at about 30% or so, because I'm going to get a little closer to her at 30%. And I'm not doing a perfect job here, I'm just showing you how you would do it. And then I'm going to bump it up to about 60 or so % and go out a little bit from there. So it's kind of a gradual, so you don't have that sharp line of blur. And then I'm going to go to 100% to do the edges from there. So, and you probably would actually want to do it a straight line instead of curved like I did, but just giving you an idea here. You might want to pull the opacity back a little bit. So there's before and there's after I've made a blur. As you can see, it's not as great as if you do it in camera. If I wanted to make the bricks blurred on this picture, I'd put my f-stop to a lower number, and then I would move myself so I would come in this direction, so I was facing her more, and the wall was behind her more, going away from her, and then as the wall went back, it would fade more and more. So that is one way that you can put blur in, just by using that Gaussian blur. And it's always good to make a background copy and not do it right on your background, just because if you hate it, you can take it directly off and you don't have to start all over, or you can always change the opacity up and down to get it to the level that you want. So that's how you can do it in Photoshop, but I would recommend highly that you learn how to use your f-stops to, oh sorry, that's for later. Use your f-stops to get that blur. This one, she said she liked how it was sharp on her, and then the front of the bricks in the back were faded. This was completely done in camera. I just focused on her face, and then everything in the foreground here is blurred and everything in the background is blurred. So I hope that helps answer that question. That was the example she was talking about, the black and white picture of the girl who is a senior up against a brick wall. And then the engagement session, pictures 5 and 8, the close-up of the girl and the boy, but the background is blurred, is a mystery. Sometimes the trees are so clear in different pictures, but the same location. So these are the pictures she was talking about. I believe the ones in particular are this one and this one. And these were done with just f-stops. This one, the background is really blurred because I am closer to them. The closer you get to your subject and the further away the background is, the more blurred it will be. If your subjects are a little bit further from you, like this one, then your background shows up a little more even with a low f-stop. But these trees are quite a ways away from them, so they show up blurred but you can still see a little bit of them because my subjects are also a little bit of a distance away from me. So if I had taken this picture like about this crop, if I come up really close to them and focused on their faces, then this background would be indistinguishable. You wouldn't be able to tell it was trees. It would be as blurred as some of these others like that. And this one, if I had pulled back and I had more of their bodies in the picture, then these branches and trees would come a little bit more in focus because I'm not focused on something that's so close to the camera. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of, it depends on your f-stop. If you have the number a little higher, it will show your background a little bit more. If you have the f-stop a little bit lower, then it will blur everything. This one you can see they're in focus, but this right in the foreground is out of focus because it's a little bit in front of them, and then everything that's behind them is blurred. Let me know if you have any more questions on that. And then you can't figure out what button. I click on the end to sharpen, or is that an action? So with that, I showed this in the video that was, I think it was my workspace video, and you can do keystroke shortcuts for some of your actions that you use all the time. I always flatten and sharpen my pictures at the end, so I'm using those all the time. And the flatten and sharpen actions that I'm using are actually Pioneer Woman's actions. I've tried some other sharpening actions, and that one has just turned out to be my favorite out of all of them that I've tried. So the way that you can assign keystrokes to those is go out of button mode, and then you go to those actions that you want to assign a keystroke to. So if I have a sharpening action that I want to just be able to push F6 and it sharpens every time, then I would highlight that, go into my menu, choose Action Options, and then I have this function key here. I can assign it a function key. I can assign it like a Shift or Command or Control, and plus the function key. So if I had a bunch of different actions that I wanted to be able to just use those shortcuts for, then I could. But I only have them on flatten and sharpen because I do use those on every single image. You could, of course, just click on the action each time. Just find the action and click on it. Or if you just find yourself using the actions all the time, find a keystroke for it. So when I flatten my image, I push F5. If I sharpen it, I push F6 because those are the commands I've assigned to them. You can assign different commands or assign them to different actions if there's different ones that you would rather have commands assigned to, but that's just what I'm doing for the sharpening. Okay, and vignetting. Is vignetting just making the picture darker behind the subject or on the corners? And so let's go back to that picture. I'm going to show you just run a vignetting action so you can see more what I mean. The vignetting means just around the edges. It's burning the edges to bring your focus to the subject. So sometimes I use a vignetting action just to get started on darkening my background. I'll just do that, and then I just darken the middle a little more if I wanted to, but that's not a true vignette. A vignette is just the outside around it. Now, as you're using vignetting, be careful. I kind of showed you an extreme example. This is kind of a giveaway of a photographer that's just starting out. A lot of times they discover the vignetting and they use it really heavily. And there's times and places for vignetting and it works great. But if you're sticking it on every single image and they all start to look like this, I've seen some that look pretty bad. You know, they'll look really dark. Then it just starts to get overused. So be careful that you're not doing too much. Sometimes less is more with vignetting. And yes, it is just kind of an edge burn. So I hope that answers that question. I think that was all the questions that you asked. Hopefully this video answered them in a way that's helpful to you. And let me know if you have any more questions.